It's been tweeted. That's the past tense of tweeted.
Twatted.
Twatted. Tweet. All right, scrolling up to the top of my show notes. Thanks for joining us once again. I'm Sammy K. Powers, and this is the PHP Roundtable. This is a live podcast of developers discussing topics that PHP nerds care about. The ultimate goal of this podcast is to learn a little something from each other. So if you're listening live and you want to be a part of the show, send a tweet to PHP Roundtable with a question, and we'll try to get your question answered if we can. So let's talk about F8. F8 is the Facebook Developer Conference, and this year it was held in San Francisco, California on March 25th and 26th. So we originally had planned on doing a live recording from F8, but the planets did not align, unfortunately, and it was the first ever failed attempt at doing a live recording of the PHP Roundtable at an event. And thus, this is the Afterglow episode. So we'll talk a little bit about our experience at F8 and some of the new stuff that Facebook announced. And we'll also be looking at the new Facebook PHP SDK version 4.1 and probably talk a little bit about where it could go for 4.2. So with that in mind, let's meet our panel. And in no particular order, we have Fosco Morado, and he is the developer advocate, or a developer advocate at Facebook who works on Parse and manages the PHP SDKs. Welcome, Fosco.
Thanks for having me, Sammy. Good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. And also, Nathan Stokes is a web developer at High Five Games in New York. Welcome, Nathan.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, so let's talk a little bit about our experience. Like, what was the F8 experience like for you guys? And I know you had different roles. I know Fosco gave a talk and everything like that. So, Nathan, what was it like as a developer just to kind of experience the F8? Fun.
So, yeah, this was actually my second F8, so it was kind of interesting to be able to compare the two. I think it's an incredible event. It's super classy. Everything just seems to be so well done, well crafted. Plenty of marketing behind it. It just feels really great. I don't go to a ton of conferences, but this is definitely on a level. F8's a really fun event.
Yeah, for sure. What was it? Did you guys? What was it like for kind of just walking through and experiencing the ambiance? Like what were kind of the sights and smells that you experienced, so to speak?
Well, the location was amazing. It was at Fort Mason, and that's right next to the marina, or I don't know if it's actually part of the marina or how that all lays out, but very close to the water, like a great view. So as you're going in and out of the different buildings. It's like super sunny with great view of the water, just really added to the feeling of cruising around and just enjoying like meeting developers and experts in various aspects of the Facebook platform. Just a really, really good vibe. Much more open than it was last year. Last year was most of it was indoors, and you're going between the talks, so the whole transition between the talks was indoors. This being like outdoors and being super sunny, it was a whole other kind of feeling to it. It really added to the experience.
I think Sammy might be frozen.
Me.
Yeah,
and I really liked how you could see Alcatraz from where we were standing.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool. So Fosco, what was it like as a speaker? Nerve-wracking?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I was primarily focused on preparing for the talk. I was running behind on that quite a bit. I definitely focused on hanging out at the Parse booth, talking to people about Parse, answering a lot of questions, and working with Christine to get ready for our talk. The venue is absolutely incredible, as Nathan said. Right outside the door to our talk was just standing there and looking at the Golden Gate and watching the water. That was great. The whole thing is incredible. Our event staff is just unbelievable. The amount of money and custom-built features and everything that they build for a Facebook event is really remarkable.
Yeah, I mean, it was incredible just to think, walking through all that stuff, like what all this stuff is just like temporary. It's hard to imagine. Like it was so well built and all these crazy designs and lights everywhere, and it was just like it just felt like high-end craziness, which
Hmm.
of course I guess Facebook will spend money on. So that's awesome. And actually at the end, right, we had a little after party, and there was a giant hill. So we got a little workout going on there where we walked up a hill for about 30 minutes, I think. It is San Francisco after all.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy.
I was sweating. But I got a sweet jacket, F8 branded jacket. Nathan, you got one too, right?
Yeah, those are awesome.
Yeah, they're these Patagonia jackets with down in them. They were part of the just thanks for coming kind of package. So some swag from Facebook, which is sweet. But anyway, good stuff, good food. Lots of Dead Mouse was there. Yeah, I met
That
the
that was definitely a highlight.
yeah.
Or as I like to call them, Dead Mouse 5.
Dead Mouse 5. True that. Yeah, so I actually was walking around trying to meet other web developers, and the thing is, like, I couldn't find any. Like, they were all like native mobile developers, because I feel like Facebook's really pushing the mobile scene pretty hardcore. So most of the developers there seem to be mobile. Is that kind of like, I guess that's kind of Facebook's focus right now, right, Fosca?
I think overall that's where everything is going.
Yeah, because there was a lot of platforms that were mentioned, or new platforms like the Messenger platform, right? That's like a new thing.
Yeah, Messenger platform is pretty interesting. It's going to foster a whole new ecosystem of apps that help you just get content directly into Messenger. And Giphy was one of the big launch partners for that.
So basically, in Messenger, you can just send Giphies, right? Like little animated GIFs and develop other apps on the platform.
There's like a whole app store in there basically where you can discover different Messenger enabled apps and link to the app store to download them, and then you have the ability to access those apps like directly in Messenger and send things out.
Yeah, it looks really cool. I haven't played with it much. Nathan, have you played with it?
No, not a ton. But just seeing some of the demos, it's going to make that app so much more fun. I think people are going to be drawn to it a lot more. And the way that they opened it up for direct communication with businesses is a very interesting thing from that side as well. So combining something that will be much more fun and friendly as a consumer using the app, but also as like a consumer for other brands that want to like come in and have a much more personal communication with their customers. It's going to be an interesting thing how that progresses.
Yeah, for sure. So Fosca, you were mentioning some new stuff at Parse, which I got the Parse shirt. I'm rocking it today. What's going on? What is Parse, first of all, and then what's kind of the stuff that you guys were talking about?
Okay, well, if you're not familiar with Parse, it's a backend as a service platform. It's if you're building an app, normally you have to build the front end and the back end, all your databases and servers and architecture, and Parse can handle all or most of that for you. So we have lots of mobile SDKs, but we have also joined the server-side area with a Node.js SDK and the PHP SDK, which I built and manage. So at F8, we launched a few new things. We got into the IoT field with some embedded SDKs. And we started to open our platform up, which is where things are going to get really exciting. We have always offered this ability to write like database triggers or cloud functions where you write some code and send it to us and we run it for you on our systems. But now we're giving you the ability to write your code in any language because ours was in JavaScript. But now we have Cloud Code webhooks, so you can write your own system in whatever language you like, host it somewhere, and give us the URL basically to hit for these different events, and we will we will call you and you will tell us what to do. That's really just the start of us opening this platform up and allowing you to like plug in different pieces. It's going to get very cool.
Nice. Now I know it's primarily focused on having a back-end service basically for native mobile development. But if I had just like a say like a front end that I had developed out with JavaScript that needed a back end, could I use Parse for that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you could even host it. We do hosting as well. So you could host a website on Parse and use like the front end JavaScript SDK to access your data. You could do like an Express.js website on Parse as well.
Nice.
So Fosco, I have a question about, I guess, some of the use cases. So obviously, Parse is much more than this, but as far as like just the notifications piece, have you seen anybody integrate just that portion of it? Just because notifications is kind of just a challenging thing to tackle when developing mobile apps.
Yeah, absolutely. We have quite a few very large customers that just use us for push. The whole service is very a la carte, and our price, especially in the push area, just can't be beat. 1 million unique devices per month for free.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges is the cost for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, we've had a lot of people use us just for push or just for analytics or just for our user account system. It's definitely very open to pick and choose different services.
On the analytics side, how does it cross over with the announcement of your new analytics platform that's replacing Insights? Are those like connected yet? Do you guys have plans for that?
They are a little different, and I heard someone give a better answer for that, but I actually haven't personally looked too much at Facebook's analytics, so I am not sure.
So I know there was a big focus on mobile stuff, and Parse plays into that big time. But there was also another big focus at F8 on virtual reality and this whole Oculus company. So did you guys do the big demo where you could go into that room and experience the big, I can't remember what it was called, the something Bay demo?
The Crescent Bay is
Yes.
is the newest prototype for Oculus, and it is pretty incredible. I'm a big fan of Oculus. I was actually I ordered the previous prototype about a week before Facebook acquired them. I had no idea that they were going to acquire them. But I'm a big fan. I love the Oculus hardware. It's pretty incredible. Everyone I show it to is amazed. And yeah, the Crescent Bay is a really good improvement. And the demo that they have been showing at all these different events it's non-interactive, but it's extremely cool.
Did you? I guess it means you've done it then. You've experienced it.
Yeah, I did it not at F8, but I did it at GDC.
Nice.
Recently.
And Nathan, did you get that experience as well?
No, I missed out on that. The line was too long when I
Yes.
passed by, and then I ended up forgetting. There was just so much other stuff going on.
Yeah, same here. Like I didn't get the experience, but I did get to do a couple of the virtual reality stuff that they had set up.
Did you do the teleportation station?
Yeah, that was kind of cool too. So they had this thing set up to where there was this camera that had like a 360 view at Facebook HQ, and you could put on this this headset and just kind of look around Facebook HQ, just look up and down, and it kind of felt like you were there. What was funny is that I would watch people actually do this, and they'd sit there and they'd try to like wave frantically at people, and it's like, well, this is kind of interesting. It's kind of funny because you really do feel like you're there. You really do. I'm kind of really starting to get interested more and more in virtual reality, and maybe looking at opportunities in PHP with virtual reality. I don't know if that those two will mix, but it might. There might be opportunities there. Can you guys think of any PHP/virtual reality opportunities off the top of your head?
No, using it as the back end for some systems so that your app calls out to your PHP back end to get something to display in virtual reality. Sure, why not?
Yeah, true that. Everything comes back to PHP for sure.
Did you guys get to see the keynote about like the virtual reality stuff that everybody was excited about? I thought that was pretty awesome when he was talking about all the different weird types of perception that we have and the cool little exercises that he was giving. It was really interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. He gave a lot of Matrix quotes.
Yeah, it was heavily Matrix driven for sure.
Yeah, I like how he's talking about like if what is reality to us if it's just sort of like neurons being fired in the brain, electrical signals, then reality is just the same as virtual reality, right? Like it's kind of it's very hard to distinguish in our brains what the difference is.
Yeah.
Scary. So actually, one of the announcements that they had at F8 was the new Graph API version 2.3, and there's a bunch of new features that they added to it, which is pretty cool. And I'm just going to kind of fly through these real quick because this is going to just be another just like a quick short episode, and I want to get to the PHP SDK a little bit, but they're adding this awesome debug mode to Graph API to the Graph API, which is really awesome because if you've ever developed on the Graph API, it would sometimes return like a 200 response okay when and give you an empty data set when, say, for example, you didn't have permissions to look at something, and so it was very confusing. There's a lot of head scratching going on. So now in debug mode, if you have got that turned on in the Graph API, it'll explain in the metadata like, oh, you need this permission in order to actually get this data, which is really cool. Nathan, have you played around with the debug mode at all, or any of the new stuff from 2.3, or looked into that stuff?
No, I haven't. I think we're set to 2.2 currently, just for safety's sake. We didn't want to go the full 2.3 just to let it iron out any kinks that may surface. So we went for stability in that regard, but very soon we'll be looking at that. We're actually still on the SDK 4.0. Because I wasn't even aware of the development of 4.1 until we had already kind of like made the call on integrating the 4.0. So we still have some migration to do on that end as well. And we just went through the migration to the Facebook Graph 2.0 upgrade, which was kind of a major overhaul of some things. So we're taking it in stride, but we'll get there.
Nice, yeah. Especially the big jump from 1.0 to 2.0 is pretty major.
Yeah.
And in fact, that's actually going to be force upgraded in less than a week. Facebook D-Day, April 30th, 2015, which is actually next week. So it's weird. I've been talking about this for a long time. Pasco, what happens on April 30th?
As far as I understand it, all calls that are coming in that are not, that will be at least version 2.0, whether you're asking for it or not. So if you're just making a call that's 1.0 or you're making an unversioned call, you will be upgraded forcefully. And if your app breaks, I'm sorry, but
call me.
You've had a year. Yeah, call Sammy and have him fix your stuff for you, basically.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like this is the Y2K. Like I was in high school when Y2K was a big deal, and I remember giving a talk in front of everybody, being like, "Don't worry, nothing's gonna happen." But this is like a new Y2K where I'm like, basically, your Facebook app stuff is gonna break if you haven't upgraded it to 2.0 yet. So if you're listening and you have an old website out there running anything Facebook, there's a good chance that part of it at least might break in about a week on April 30th, 2015. So if it does happen, you'll have to some reading up on graph stuff to do.
No, call Sammy. Call Sammy.
Yeah, call me. I do freelance on this stuff, so this is not. I'm not trying to turn this into an advertisement for me, but but I'm just really interested in all the graph stuff because they also introduced like a really cool resumable downloading thing for the video API. Which is kind of cool. So if you use a lot of video, there's like a lot of new video features, like video playlists, and like actually in Facebook itself, you can actually embed Facebook videos now from a timeline, which is kind of cool. And like new permissions, there's a new login permissions for published pages. So instead of requesting like the publish actions permission, which gives you like permission to publish on behalf of the user everywhere, you can narrow it down to just pages, which is really nice. So you don't have to request too many permissions. And just a bunch of new stuff from Graph, so it's kind of cool. But I want to transition to the new Facebook PHP SDK. Woo! So Fosco, you originally rewrote 4.0 from 3, right?
Yeah. Another coworker and I, David Pohl, he mostly started the design, and then we discussed it and fleshed it out, and then I built it. Had a little bit of help. And launched it, and it's been very interesting running this open source project and managing the community, and it's given me a lot of thoughts about open source in general. especially with a project like this. So yeah, we built the PHP SDK, but technically we don't use it, right?
Right.
It's it's an SDK for consuming our API, but we don't use it. You guys do. So like you and Yassine and everybody else who's contributed, I think we've had like 40. You guys really know what you want it to do, and how it, what feels right versus what doesn't. And so I've been very open to suggestions you guys are making, and very willing to accept your guys' help. And 4.1 is evidence of that, because it's quite a bit different.
Yeah, 4.0 was a huge leap forward from 3, because 3 was just full of bugs and spaghetti string code and just pretty awful. And then 4.0 really modernized it in a big way and pushed it in the right direction. And then because you've been so cool about like accepting all these pull requests from the community, it's like the community's really pushed it towards exactly what you said, like the way that they wanted to kind of integrate it. And even now, like we're getting new issues all the time of people saying like, hey, like one recently about Open Graph and like how can we support the Open Graph protocol and stuff like that. So it's really cool. I'm excited to see where it'll end up going, because it seems like it's really kind of starting to get to the point where it's really embracing all the features that Facebook and the Graph API have to offer. Really, it might be like I don't know if you guys have browsed around with the AWS SDK, but it hits a ton of features from all of their like APIs and everything. So I don't know. It'd be cool. So what insights have you gotten? Like was this your first open source project that you managed?
On this scale, definitely. Yeah, I mean, this has now like 450,000 installs, just about. Yeah, this is a pretty massive project. So yeah, other than that, I had just done some personal toy projects. Nothing like that.
Right. Well, what kind of insights or inspiration have you gotten from this?
I think it's more kind of what I said previously, but generalized, it's that when you open source something, I feel like it's not necessarily yours anymore, and that you can't keep such a tight grip. Like
Right.
you have to be willing to accept outside influence. And I've seen a lot of stuff that there's someone who says no to everything. Basically, the default answer is no to any pull request or any change or any new ideas. And I really think it's important that when you put something out in the open, that you start. Everybody else has a seat at the table now, and that you listen to them. And if they use your product more, then you need to do what they want, basically.
Right. Yeah, and I think the only thing, I mean, you just accept so many pull requests and you say yes to pretty much everything, including PSR4 support. Woohoo! That's a big one to kind of get everything PSR compliant, and that's pretty cool. I think Phil Sturgeon was happy about that one.
That's good.
Lots of new stuff, lots of new features in 4.1, just like a cleaner, more fluent API, super easy pagination, full file upload support, batch support, environment variable fallbacks for your app ID and app secret, beta mode support for re-request and re-authentication, and then we also have injectable interfaces, so like you can override how the HTTP client works, for example, or persistent storage, like how you store sessions in PHP. Like a lot of people use Redis or whatever. You can actually configure the SDK to use your web framework's session storage, which is really cool. So lots of really cool features that rolled out with 4.1. So still working on documentation, right, Fosco? You're like adding that to the developer site?
Yeah, I've been having some issues with our developer site, and I have a couple contacts out to people who work on that to try and get that fixed. Because I almost wish that we could put the documentation up on like GitHub pages, and
Yeah, that'd be sweet.
And switch to managing it outside of Facebook. I mean, that would give us a couple of benefits. One is that we could accept pull request changes to the docs and have it just be done.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that would fly internally.
Yeah, or even having like a wiki on the repo to just use that. Is that what you were referring to?
I guess that would work as well. But there's also, the concept of GitHub pages where you have essentially markdown files that you put in a branch called gh-pages, and they you could pick a theme and they will basically render all that stuff for you.
Nice. That's cool. Well, definitely let me know if you end up getting support for that on Facebook, and because that'd be really sweet. Because in the live, it would have live documentation and community contributed documentation, which is sweet. Which is already actually set up. Fosco added all the documentation to the GitHub repo, so all the documentation for 4.1 is actually in GitHub. You just have to switch to the master branch, and it'll be there. So if you've been waiting to upgrade, you can still do it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's in this obscure format that is only valid on Facebook's developer site.
Right, the Facebook markup language or Facebook ML or whatever it is, but it's still Markdown based, so you can still kind of, like, if you're familiar with Markdown, it shouldn't be too crazy, hairy, different. But I do want to start wrapping up here just a little bit since this is a short episode, but I want to look really quickly at a couple things that we might be able to support for 4.2, and I haven't actually submitted an official issue on the PHP SDK yet for this. So since Fosco's right here, what do you think about all this stuff? Actually, we talked about this a little bit at F8, but adding PSR7 support, the new kind of messaging interface, and I think you were kind of open. I mean, you're pretty much open to pretty much everything except for Semver. I can't get you to budge on Semver.
Okay, hold on. How can we change course here? How can we support Semver at this point with where we're at?
Good question, Nathan. Well, I feel like at least on GitHub it's branded 4.1 in the actual namespace, but as far as Composer is concerned, I think it's a matter of just pointing it to you could still point it to the same repo. It'd just be confusing with the namespace. It would. I think we would definitely have to talk to some people who have done that before. I have never done that.
Okay. So. It's possible to rename a repo, right?
Totally. So I know, but I don't think GitHub will automatically redirect from the old version. But yeah, I think we can totally rename it.
So I'm open to it just because a lot of stuff has piled on, and it's become an issue. Somebody complained about when we went to 4.0.23 that they considered that a breaking change, and they felt like that should have been a dot upgrade. So I'm open to it, and I think we should talk about it further. If there's a possibility that we can get on board with Semver, I will do that.
Woohoo! Yes, awesome. I'm gonna hold you to that. I'll quote that. No,
yeah, you heard it here first.
No, that's great, because that is one of the issues that we're running into is just because since it doesn't follow Semver, all the we're trying to smush the major and the minor releases, or I'm sorry, the patch and minor releases into one dot, and it's causing a little bit of an issue, especially right now out of the box. There's a default graph version API fallback. And a lot of people are just using that as their fallback for their scripts. So when the SDK gets updated with just one character change, we just change it from 2.2 to 2.3, it breaks everybody's scripts because the graph API is actually a breaking change. So I think in 4.2 or 5.1 or 6, I don't know, depending on which Semver we end up taking, I want to make sure that the default graph version option that you send to the Facebook superclass actually throws an exception if it doesn't exist. That was actually one of the new things, just because we want that to be done programmatically instead of just allowing it to default back. Well, anyway, I have a bunch of other stuff here. I'm going to be trying to wrapping it up, but there's some new ideas for renaming things to be a little bit more with the domain-driven design approach of this ubiquitous language. So if graph calls something one thing, it should be called that in the SDK. For example, graph object should be graph node, graph list should be graph edge, and things like that, which they're all already on. That particular issue is already up on GitHub. But I wanted to give a shout out again to Ryan Weaver, because he was in the developer shout out, the official developer shout out for an episode not too long back. But I learned a lot from his talk that he gave at Sunshine PHP, and one of the things that he mentioned is that if you have an interface that only has one method on it, or something like that, you can just create like a callback or a callable for that. So there's actually 3 of our injectable interfaces the client HTTP client interface, the pseudo-random string generator interface, and the URL detection interface all have just one method on them. So those could all be just straight up callable or closures, like or anything callable. Like it could be a function, it could be anything. Especially with the pseudo-random string generator interface, that's going to be a new feature of PHP 7 with random bytes. So it'd be cool just to have like a little wrapper for that. And all kinds of new cool things. And I don't know, it's still in refactoring, fun, but it's been fun. It's been fun. I've learned a lot on this process. This is the first major open source project I've ever contributed to, and it was all because Fosco is such an awesome guy, and he's he's so open to pull requests and everything. So great job managing that thing, man. I don't know if you get enough thank yous.
Thank you.
You do a great job on that. So does anybody, either of you guys have any closing thoughts as we kind of wrap it up on just your experience at F8 or anything with the PHP SDK or Graph or anything like that?
I would say, I mean, obviously all the videos are up, so you could kind of have your own experience if you wanted to go watch stuff after the fact. But one talk that I saw, I think it was the last one I saw, was definitely my favorite. It was very developer-centric, and it was the Big Code talk. And they described the process of rolling code out into production and all the continuous integration and the flow of that process. And it's just pretty mind-blowing, like the infrastructure behind running those tests and preparing things for merging into master and then deploying out to this massive cloud. So that's a fun one.
Nice.
And I would say check out all the Parse talks. There's a pretty good string of Parse talks and all the keynotes. It's good stuff.
Nice. Yes. I didn't get to see your talk. I was I think I had some kind of meeting or something during that time, or like I ended up not being able to make it. So I still have to check out the video. Check out Fosco on the stand. So I always give everybody an opportunity to do like a shameless promotion at the end. Fosco, do you have anything that you would like to promote?
I do not. I have nothing to promote. Sorry. Thanks.
No Parse or nothing?
No.
Doing good. Well, how about you, Nathan? You got anything that you'd like to promote?
Nothing personally, but I could definitely plug like Laravel 5 being pretty kick-ass. And there's a podcast that I'm obsessed with. It's Full Stack Radio.
Oh yeah.
Adam Wathan runs that thing. It's obviously like top of my list along with PHP Roundtable.
Oh, thanks.
So I don't know. Those are two things that I would definitely have people check out if they weren't already aware of it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. I actually just discovered it yesterday, in fact, and I added it to my list, Full Stack Radio podcast, and started listening to the DDD episode in my car. So I have got a lot of catching up to do because I think he's got like 15 episodes already.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. And and Adam it's Adam. What's his name? Adam
Wathan.
Wathan.
Wathan. I think it's Wathan. I think.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he needs to talk to Cal and get it added to the podcast website if it's not already. The Cal Evans PHP podcast website.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much, guys. Our next episode is the Business of PHP with Michael Kismel, Gary Hawken, Yitzhak Rulroth, Matt Stauffer, and we'll be talking about freelancing, running a SaaS, running a web dev shop, hourly rates versus value-based pricing, contracts, project scope, client expectations, and everything in between. It's all about the business of PHP. So I'm really looking forward to that one as a freelancer. And if you have something you'd like to share about a topic that PHP nerds care about, you need to be on this panel. Hit me up on Twitter, and my Twitter handle is SammyK, or you can ping PHP Roundtable. Always looking for topic ideas. So I'd like to thank you again, Fosco and Nathan, for joining us for the discussion, and we'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thanks, Sammy. Take care.
Thanks, guys. This was great.
Peace.